Everybody, Chuck Ramsey, the Law Dog, here with you. Jeremy Schroeder. I messed up that intro there. 2 channels on one. But we are here with you live on Facebook and recording for our podcast purposes and your listening enjoyment on Law Dog Sports, lawdogsports.com. It's the Weekend Big Show with myself and Jeremy Schroeder, and it is a big week, Jeremy, as so much has gone on with regards to, I seriously started to tap your shoulder on Monday or Tuesday to see if you wanted to recap that outstanding performance by Xander Schauffele on last Sunday at the Open. It inspired me to improve my putting game. I know that, but it was one of those things where, man, there's so much stuff just going on Fridays we have to hold on to.
I know I'd forgotten about the Open even being, last time I sat down and watched, Lowry was in the lead, and then I was kind of keeping an eye on it Sunday and saw Schauffele made his run and, couldn't miss once he got on the green in those horrible conditions.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Sideways rain. It's just Britain. Anything you can imagine Britain being, that's it. They're beating the ball on the ground and
oh yeah,
frogs jumping out of the holes and
and then you end up in some 4-foot high fescue or something. That
who was the dude that threw it over there and then took one hack and it went further into the deep stuff and he said, "Nah, to hell with it, I'm done."
Yeah, I can't remember who that was, but it was man, it was an enjoyable Sunday though. And I tell you something, Jeremy, I'm just going to be honest here with you, and everybody has different Sundays, so to speak. But I found it enjoyable for the final groups to start when they did and be done when they did. I'm not the biggest fan of golf taking up my, going into my Sunday evening. I don't know why. I don't really have anything to prep for. Maybe my golf on Mondays, but it's
what was it over by noon our time, wasn't it?
Noon or 1, yeah.
Yeah.
So
play all the tournaments overseas then.
Yeah. We're streaming.
Don't you care about our economy and our infrastructure, Chuck?
I guess not. Call me a never mind. I won't get into politics here. I didn't know who to quote there. The million women that broke Zoom last night on their conference call to support the vice president, or the guy who stepped in it with all of the feline ownership this week. So it's just a mess. But I'll tell you this much. When we did have the debate with the previous Democratic nominee and the current Republican nominee, and they were talking golf challenge, the more senior man needed to really catch some stuff. I mean, the old fat man with the big yellow head has got some freaking game.
He can play.
That guy. I mean,
nothing he does looks good or looks like, and he's hitting, missiles right down the middle of the fairway. The ugliest putting stroke I've ever seen on a grown man, and he's draining 25 footers for eagle.
It's like he's trying to put So if anybody's wondering what we're talking about, this week there were videos coming out, and I saw clips of them on TikTok. I guess you saw the whole YouTube video. But Bryson DeChambeau, and this episode's kind of partially titled, Can We Still Be Bryson Bros? He didn't fare that great Sunday at all either. He was kind of out of the running pretty quick, and that course wasn't really going to be set up on a final day. To
Bryson hits it high. You can't do that over there. No.
And that's what I've got to learn on my game with the gentlemen that I play with. They keep
Western Oklahoma wins
low and straight. I mean, that's the lesson learned. Do you have our stream pulled up, by the way? Are we
I am looking at it right now.
Okay, good, because I guess I probably have an iPad from like 2015, I think, maybe.
Dan Narva says British Open, totally missed it, and I'm bummed because I like the British. Well, I don't really care for the Brits, but okay.
Yeah, they're okay. I mean, they've got some things. I had some fish and chips a couple of weeks ago at a restaurant, and I just thought, this isn't bad, but I would hate
I
to have to
think
live off this.
British cuisine is the cruelest trick ever played on the Western world.
Do you remember the skit with Mike Myers on the SNL for Headley and Weiss British toothpaste?
I think that's where Austin Powers was born.
Oh, he all of his stuff was kind of that.
Yeah.
Hi, Dan. Good to see you. We're going to talk a little bit of Big Ten Media Days here in a minute. We got a lot to go over, but the Headley and Weiss was,
we're close.
I think it was toothpaste filled with 2 teaspoons of pure cane sugar. And then Chris Farley with those jagged teeth. And it goes great on a cracker. So the Brits bring a lot to the world, and seems like that's funny you bring that up. But it seems like I saw a post that said, name things that America's brought to the world, and I immediately
Wasn't the Open played in Scotland this year though at Troon?
Yeah, but that's Great Britain though. I mean, that's
sure. It's the Scottish,
and that's the thing.
Birthplace of golf, sir.
I've called it the British Open my entire life, and
that's the Open Championship.
No, it's the Open.
And you need to really work on a Scottish accent. We say it.
Well,
I can't do a Scottish accent, but I am half Scottish, so there you go.
Let me tell you something. My friend Steve Cargill that I went to college from. Nah, I can't do it.
I can do Mike Myers doing a Scottish accent. Only if it's his father, and only if it's lines from So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Move.
The Queen, the Gettys, the Rothschilds, and the Colonel before he went tits up.
It's a very well-known fact, Sonny Jim. All right, so we've got Scottish impersonations here by your host, Dan Narva checking in, and Kenny McGuire watching as well. Connor Carr checking in. That brings up a good question now that Connor is checked in. Should Bryson shoot some holes with John Daly now? I mean, would that be the next step after
Absolutely. Trump? Well, after Trump, no, he's got to do break 100 with Joe Biden.
Oh, bad.
Hey, put your money where your mouth is. If you're going to talk all that noise, knowing that you probably couldn't even lift a golf club.
Oh yeah,
6 handicap, my sweet rear end.
90% of the dudes at the clubs that I play out here in Western Oklahoma, I would be smart enough not to challenge them.
Sure.
Like I said in those videos, and of course the trolls come out and say, "Oh, that's altered. That's not real. And how many tries and blah blah blah." I don't care how many tries it took them to film him draining. What was that video alleging that Trump was sitting at 260 with irons?
I think it was a driver.
Okay, well,
but he's 78, man.
I'm telling you, and in terrible shape. I mean, but obviously got some.
Obviously not.
No, well, yeah.
I mean, he's 78 and he subsists on Diet Coke and McDonald's, and he's still,
Connor
a
Carr
low handicapper.
Connor Carr says they'd kill it. Bryson wouldn't know what to do when Daly started drinking straight.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
Connor, that's called a Western Oklahoma scramble.
I don't know if you know how the people get down at Southern Methodist University, but it's a lot like that, Connor.
Yeah, I'm sure there's. Yeah. Well, and so nice segue there for Jeremy, and we've got some audio coming up here in a minute, but it was some media days. Last word on the Open, final major of the 2024 season. A little depressing when you think about it. They still have the PGA Championship Players
Championship, yeah.
And then Davis Cup will be coming up on it.
I think so, yeah.
So still some golf to play, but the final of the majors, and America sweeps it for the first time, I think they said, since 1982. And Xander Schauffele wins 2 this year. And, man, to win the Open and the U.S. Open, those.
You are on it if you're winning those. I mean, you're hitting them straight, and you are navigating greens. Those 2 tournaments are no margin for error tournaments.
Yeah. He's kind of the epitome of drive for show, putt for dough. I mean,
You remember that year that Brooks Koepka was just winning everything, and he looked like an Iron Byron on the course. For those of you not familiar with the Iron Byron, it's what they use to test golf equipment. It's a robot, and it swings a golf club. It's the same way every time. Well, that's what these guys are doing, man. Just puring it right in the middle of the fairway, up and down. It's crazy, consistent golf. If it was sustainable, it's not sustainable.
No.
It's not, because these guys are human. I think the only person I've ever seen sustain it for a really long time, two people, Jack and Tiger.
Yeah. Well, and it would have been interesting to know what might have been without physical injury and
Ooh,
domestic violence and things like
did you
that.
see his leg? He wore it. Yeah, without the sleeve.
Let me tell you something, and I've been critical of golfers in the past, and I trust me, I realize you can be good at golf and not go out and be able to, to perform in other.
You could look like John Daly.
You can look like John Daly. But I'll tell you this much. I've been dealing with plantar fasciitis pretty hard for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And now it's kind of causing stiffness in my hamstring. And I'm not saying it. Let's just say this. I was already bad. Feeling that amount of pain just makes me even worse. And I'm not putting myself on any sort of level. I'm just saying it's hard to swing a golf ball if you're not feeling pretty good.
Well, no, your power starts in the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you've got the I don't want to call it that. If you got the plantar fasciitis, you're not going to be able to grip the ground.
Yeah.
And swing through it.
No, I've got plenty of mechanical issues, but let me just say this. I mean, having a tight hamstring and then your foot, you get out of the cart and your foot's killing you. I mean, it makes a little difference. So I can, it's going to sound terrible. I can kind of relate to Tiger. So anyways.
Yes, that's with your billions in the bank.
That's right. So, hey,
you your yacht.
Yeah. Before we get into college football actuality, let's talk about some virtual reality college football. You clued me in that you basically been dominating on the legacy mode or the road
dynasty.
Dynasty. Yeah. So
yes.
EA Sports college football. Give us your review on the new technology and the new video game.
It's not that much different than the old one. There are a few subtle differences, but
I mean, are the graphics better?
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
Okay,
but that's just the new technology as far as the game platform, because there's never been 2014 was the last year that came out, and it was just basically a Madden clone game.
Yeah.
They've changed some of the things on it. It's fun. It's a little different. Defense is a lot harder to play. It does mimic reality in that point where you can't stop anybody from doing things if they want to do them, especially if you're playing good teams. But it's a lot of fun. It's a diversion. Well, shut up, Connor.
I'm not ready for that yet. And Connor Carr says he'll beat the brakes off of you. Now, is that him challenging me to a foot race? I mean, is that
probably?
Okay.
But let's just put it this way: I'm still at the point where I have to look down at the controller every once in a while because I haven't played in so long.
That brings up the fact that we talk generations on here a lot, and I won't go into mid-range shooting for Connor's benefit, but he's definitely on the X calling me out on my old man moments. And there is
we're out there. When I turn 50, it's going to be the Facebooks.
The Facebooks.
that's just what we're going to call it.
So, but I mean, there basically been a lot of stuff thrown out there that there's a whole generation of gamers that don't have to deal with the limitations that we did. I don't know. I mean, I
never had to put it on channel 3, huh?
Exactly. A little UHF, VHF picture in the back, I wasn't great at Atari, and Connor's still taking shots at you. I wasn't great at Atari anyways. I always liked Pitfall. That was my favorite. But
you're a big Pitfall Harry fan.
I didn't have it. A friend of mine did, but I thought it was really cool. And even before that, Adventure was was
Do you
really.
remember Larry Bird versus Dr. J 1-on-1?
I seem to remember that, but man, I'm telling you, when my Atari, and here's the thing, those Atari controllers, I was very ungraceful as a kid, very kind of, bull in a china closet. And if you broke some of those,
Awkward.
if you broke some of those pins off of the attachment where the controllers went, you were doomed. You were done. I could barely move left on Space Invaders. But anyways, so I kind of missed out on a lot of the late '80s, early '90s video game systems. So I don't. That sounds familiar. I don't remember ever playing it.
Okay. I had an Atari. I vaguely remember it. I was pretty young. Uh, kind of skipped the whole Nintendo thing until I bought a PlayStation.
Yeah.
I think I had a Sega Genesis somewhere in there and played
Well,
Joe Montana football. I
now
remember that.
there was some baseball game in about '89 or '90 that some friends of mine had. We went to college together at OCU, and it was is MLB something. And at the time, I was like, "Holy cow!" It was an actual display of a diamond, and that was
Uh-huh.
in 1989. That was the advancement. It wasn't just some little chintzy computer generated diamond. It was like actual look like a graphics of a diamond. But
All-Star baseball.
that was it, yeah. And so, but I remember in '98 I bought a computer game for baseball, and you had to buy a joystick to operate it. Well, I'm sure you could have used control buttons, but it had pretty good graphics. But I'll tell you this much: I remember in the mid 2000s when my sons became of a video game age, and they they would when they were gone, I was kind of like Stan Marsh down there, testing it out. Even
Randy Marsh, sir.
Randy,
Randy
yeah,
Marsh.
Randy's the dad. But anyways,
Most underrated character on that show.
oh, greatest character in TV history. So anyways, Kenny McGuire throws out Frogger. I watched the Seinfeld Frogger episode the other night.
That's all I ever
That's
think
such a
of.
classic. And here's the thing, Jeremy. I go back far enough, and maybe you do too. But when actual standalone video games were in convenience stores and things like that, I don't know if you're at Jay Bodie's, rocking out to to Missile.
Which Jay Bodie's?
Well, whichever one was close. But I mean, I grew up with a kid that he could spend 1 quarter on Missile Command and be there most of the day. I mean, he was that much of a gamer. And I could go through $2 in quarters in about 5 minutes. It was terrible. Asteroids, Defender, all that. I was awful. I'm terrible at video games.
Yeah.
But thanks to Kenny McGuire for checking in and down at McGuire Insurance. So, anyways, let's get into some sports, Jeremy. And thanks for.
Before we go, the Frogger episode was the cameo by the great Peter Stormare.
Is he?
You know who that is?
Repeat.
Slippery Pete.
Yeah. He was in Fargo. He was in
Fargo. He played the devil in Constantine.
Armageddon. He was
in John Wick.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything he's in that movie is better.
He's gold. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
he's great.
What's funny is he
Lebowski.
Which one?
He was in The Big Lebowski. He was one of the nihilists.
So obviously he's a Coen Brothers favorite. I mean, that's fair to say. So he would have done Fargo before he did the Frogger episode.
Probably. He was the one shoving Steve Buscemi's lifeless corpse into the wood chipper, if anybody wonders.
You remember in that episode, the Frogger episode, his silhouette, Jerry thought it was the Lopper. He goes back and rings the girl's buzzer, and she was in Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. She was the snotty girl in Romy and Michelle's, which I know may not be every dude's classic, but there were some funny moments in that movie.
Yeah, that movie just grated on me. I didn't like it.
I liked it. I liked Janine Garofalo in that. She was like telling everybody to F off. Okay, so let's get into some sports, and I've got some audio today, actually. But it was media days for the remaining two big conferences of the Power Four. the Big Ten and the ACC. Jeremy, before we get into the Big Ten and all of Tebow's nonsense at Big Ten Media Days, let's go to the ACC, Charlotte, North Carolina. And, let's just say Mac Brown was on point.
You all got to get help and get some drip.
So Mac at North Carolina and Cleet Jones checking in. Thank you, Cleet. But no, here's the thing. Here's Mac on and the ACC has an ESPN network. And so much talk about grant of rights and Florida State's kind of rebel rousing and this and that. But here's Mac talking about college football.
There's been more changes in my last 3 years than my first 47.
I know, it's crazy.
Wow. Somebody said today, why don't you write a book about your first day at Appalachian and now the way things have changed? And I said, some people have to die first.
Wow. Mac. I love Mac Brown. I'm not going to lie. And
Texas did him.
They did him so wrong. And you froze up. Outstanding. Just outstanding. All right. Thanks, Pioneer. Appreciate all your help. Jeremy may unfreeze here in just a minute. I'm going to say it's probably on my end, so I'm going to keep talking. But Mac Brown with North Carolina team that I think they're looking at as being able to contend. He's just such a great recruiter.
But there we are.
Yeah.
There he is.
Frozen up. I'm sorry. Maybe location. I don't know. But no, I was talking about Mac Brown, and you left off with Texas did him so dirty, and that's true. I thought it was so great that he's gotten a second chance at North Carolina, and I think it's been good for North Carolina also. What I will say is college football is taking a toll on these younger coaches. Mac's getting up there. I mean, I don't know. I
don't know how much longer he'd want to deal with it. I mean, he was doing TV. It seems like a pretty good gig compared to having to recruit your entire roster every day.
Yeah. And, they're picked 8th in the ACC this year. I'm noticing by Phil Steele. But he gets talent. He's had talent there. I mean, here's the thing. If he would have recruited quarterbacks as well at Texas as he has at North Carolina, we wouldn't be having this conversation about him being at North Carolina.
I don't know that he's recruiting better quarterback. I think he's developing them better, which means he has a better staff around him than he had at Texas, because he had some guys that could play when he was down there. Garrett Gilbert was a 5-star, and he was pretty daggum good at SMU.
Yeah.
Vince Young. Who else did he have?
When he had the quarterback right at Texas, they won big. Obviously.
Sure.
Now, there's a long list of the guys that they could have gotten on campus is the problem.
Of course, but you're going to see that every year, especially in a state as vast as Texas, if somebody leaves the state and has success. But, I mean, it's like 20 guys. And they're all in the NFL right now.
Go all the way back to him missing on Drew Brees.
Brees, Foles, Stafford.
You can list Austin Westlake alum, and up until Vodka Tom pulled out the hard G, and for code of those that don't listen frequently, that would be Tom Herman not recruiting. We've got our second language rolling, but kudos to Mac for being up there. And really, this week, Jeremy, just what I saw on the blips, he's kind of. To me, hearing Mac coming out and having audio clips and being circulated is kind of the ACC. It's what the ACC needs to say, hey, don't forget us. We're here.
Right. And
they
Mac
still have powerhouse teams in that conference.
Yeah, they do. And Mac wasn't unlikable at Texas. He just had an Oklahoma problem, and he didn't know what to do with it. Bob Stoops kept him on a very short leash.
You lose
and just whooped on him. Yeah.
You lose 5 straight, and your opponent is, playing for national titles, But here's
not only that, Chuck, they lost all those games to Oklahoma, and they always dropped the game before the Oklahoma game because they would overlook that team trying to get to Oklahoma to get their butts kicked.
Yeah. You go back to 2004, Vince Young and that team where OU beats them 12-0, and just a dogfight, get blown out with Vince Young at quarterback. But then, after he broke that 5-game losing streak, they went on a decent run themselves against Oklahoma. Just the 07 loss to Sam Bradford and Malcolm Kelly. But then 08, they get them 45-35 neutral field, Chris. But and then in 09, they're primed for contention for a national title, and we all know it's gospel fact that if Colt McCoy doesn't get hurt, they win that.
No. Sam Bradford had got hurt. OU wins the national title going away that year.
Yeah, they had a lot of talent. I don't. Yeah, defensively,
three of the first 5 picks, Chris.
They were probably that 09 OU defense was probably better than the 08 defense. If you look,
was that Curtis Lofton?
I think he might have been gone by then,
or Clint Ingram.
I think it was Ryan Reynolds and
Ryan Reynolds.
Was Austin Box on campus by then, or was that later?
He might have been. Pretty. Yeah, I think so.
I can't remember, but
Dante Nicholson. Dante.
Yeah, Clemson picked by Phil Steele to win the ACC, or kind of he kind of hedged his bets. He kind of went Clemson, Florida State, and Dabo this week was quoted in his media remarks as saying he would be able to dominate the transfer portal if he wasn't at Clemson. And I read the article on it. I never could really pick up on where he was coming from on that.
Why can't he dominate the transfer portal at Clemson?
Yeah,
I don't know. He refuses to use it.
Yeah, I mean, and I have a lot of respect for Dabo Swinney because he obviously has a great coaching pedigree. He's got 2 natties under his belt. I mean,
he wants to do things the right way. That's fine, but the rules have changed. You got to evolve.
Well, yeah, and if you're not growing, you're dying. But Clemson, that's the difference in these games that we've seen teams like OU and Texas, fall under, is if you can bring in a kid, or if you have a kid who two things, Jeremy, if you have a kid that stays on campus multiple years, or if you have a kid that transfers in from somewhere where he was at multiple years, you're going to have a better player than the kid that comes in as a true freshman, or sometimes even a redshirt freshman.
Well, we're talking about Dabo and willingness to use the transfer portal. Well, Florida State brought in DJ Uliagalele. See? Yeah. And he's been, he's 47 years old, but he's been in college. He did 3 years at Clemson. He did a year at Oregon State. Now he's back in the ACC at Florida State, because Florida State had absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Behind what was his name? Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
Last year, and the kid that was behind him transferred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they bring in DJ's a good player.
Yeah.
Is he the guy that's going to get you over the top? Probably not.
Well, and we don't know. I mean, he had one breakout game where he just lit up Notre Dame, and then everything else at Clemson was just a little bit disappointing for their standards, or his standards, whatever it is. But, to me, the ACC, Jeremy, what they need to have, and I think there's some people kind of throwing it out there. Did you know that SMU's picked to finish in the top 5 in that conference?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
SMU's going to have a good squad, man. They were, I think, kind of.
And then you've
got
Virginia
on the line.
You've got Virginia Tech right there with them. There are people that have Virginia Tech in the top 25 and making a bit of a rebound season. Obviously, Justin Fuente wasn't the answer there. They go with a different coach, Brent Pry. But they had a rough year last year. But the thing we're going to see in some of these conferences, Jeremy, I don't think you'll see it in the SEC. I think the SEC is just kind of, I hate to say preordained order, but some of these conferences like the Big 12 and the ACC will probably have true parity.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that the SEC is 1 and 2 are probably preordained, and then once you get past 2 to 7, it's going to be a dogfight for positioning, and then the bottom five will, South Carolina, Vandy, uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and
Mississippi State.
yeah, Jeff Levy's got a tough road to hoe. Kenny McGuire checked in on Facebook Live, said, yeah, Texas did Mac dirty. He could have won for a long time. Uh, he might have been tired too.
I think he also ran out of McCoy's, and what was the receiver? Him and his brother played there too.
Oh,
Jordan.
Jordan,
the Shipleys ran out of McCoy's and Shipleys.
Yeah, Bob Shipley all over Twitter usually with his inspiration, but hey, his two sons were good players.
Sure.
So, anyways, final on the ACC. You've got Cal and Stanford. Mike Elko goes to A&M, and Duke's picked dead last in the ACC.
Yeah, and Duke's not going to be any good. They were punching above their weight, while Elko was there. And I don't think A&M, we should expect anything out of them either now that Elko's back over there.
Yeah. The thing I will say is Miami needs to quit jacking around and get competitive again.
But they've been jacking around for 23 years, Chuck.
They apparently just can't get it straight down there. Florida State needs to bounce back, like you said, with some quarterback play or a backup. Something
to recruit.
Yeah. And then Clemson just needs to try to sustain. And really they need to come back from last season. But
Clemson needs to get up with the way college football is run.
Yeah.
2024, 2025, and maybe bring in a transfer or two just to fill some holes instead of thinking that redshirt freshman that's 10 pounds underweight is going to be the guy.
The Big 12, I've always said, made a mistake not throwing SMU into the mix for when they expanded. I would say right now, and we've seen this on social media, go regional, get back to the regions,
we've talked about
this. Have Central Florida and Cincinnati, and then Big 12 adds I know it's all academic stuff.
That's a very micro view of it. Yeah. You need to look macro. Yeah. All right, the power 2, 3, whatever it is now, plus Washington State and Oregon State need to just get together, kick the NCAA out, establish their own governing body, their own set of rules, and then go regional. Mm-hmm. Now we're one deal, then you're going to have your Atlantic, your Central, your Pacific.
Yeah. Don't say it, Jeremy.
What was I? What am I not going to say?
Maybe it was the realignment. I don't know. So the ACC had their media days and got some notoriety and, decent timing, I guess. But the Big Ten also had their media days. And Jeremy, I'm just going to say this. For a coach to be taking over a program, and what's his name, Deshaun Foster?
If Overwhelmed had a press conference, In Over Your Head had a press conference, that was it.
Yeah.
I didn't say that, Connor.
So if you're, did he say what you were?
I think he's insinuating that I would pick Arkansas in the bottom 5.
Oh no! Well, here's the thing: there's no reason Arkansas should ever be in the bottom 5.
Well, just
there's no reason.
Poor coaching,
and there it was.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, Sam Pittman's a heck of a guy. I'd like to have old cold beer with him. Isn't that what he said? An old cold beer.
I don't know, Jeremy. To me, there's these coaching carousels and these retreads and things like that. It's obviously tough for teams to be able to put together some quality squads. Quality coaching staffs.
Is that another wonderful thing that's trickled down from the pro level? Is you don't have success at one place, so you just take the show on the road and go somewhere else and not have success.
It seems to be. I mean, and like I said, and we see it in the NFL a lot. And so why don't we just wave the white flag and say it's NFL minors? And I've said that for years, and people don't want to hear it anymore. But here's the thing, Jeremy. To me, and just to fulfill Conard's wish, the bottom five of the SEC is going to remain the bottom five of the SEC no matter what. I mean, I hate to say that, like, there's just a preordained pecking order, but that conference is, and who could you see from the bottom half just popping up and having a 5-year string of dominance or highly competitive? I mean, Ole Miss
That's
is
the thing.
on the verge.
Well, yeah, Ole Miss I wouldn't put down in that bottom five right now. Lane Kiffin's done a really good job there for a program that was kind of in the dumper when he took it over.
Sure.
And they've got a really good squad this year. Oh, why? Oh, yeah, because he filled all his holes with transfer portal guys, and they got NIL money.
There you go. Well, speaking of NIL money, apparently, it's hard to raise money for college football in the city of LA. So beyond the Deshaun Foster debacle of his opening statements, where he just really did he try to
but Connor
the acronym of UCLA?
Hold on, Connor. South Carolina has won one SEC title in how many years they've been in there, or one division title. They're historically not a great program. They had a little spurt when Steve Spurrier was there, but I mean they haven't been competitive, I guess, but a good program, no. I
mean, the minute who was the big defensive end that like made a career out of one highlight hit?
Clowney. And he's bounced around. Jadeveon Clowney.
When Jadeveon Clowney came on campus, that upped their level. I mean,
Spurrier could never get the quarterback right. I mean, no. Steven Garcia was there for like 26 years. He wasn't George Clooney. He deleted that.
Yeah. So, and by the way, the Blood Institute of this state is hounding me that there's no bigger. People say vampires don't walk in this earth. Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
They're employed by the OBI. But I am O negative, so it's probably time for me to get in and really probably would help my blood pressure to drop a pint or two. Hey, I'm on the wagon, by the way.
On the wagon?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Well, it's just
no barley pops, huh?
It's just one of those things. I mean, what I'm going to do is just tell myself, if you get out in a setting and you feel like, something great, social setting, this and that, sitting out in the garage, after you get done mowing, and while I don't have a problem with it, my blood sugar and stuff kind of do. So
yeah, I'm kind of halfway on the wagon for months now. And honestly,
Jeremy, on the golf course, it's been too dang hot. I can't even fathom cracking one open. All I go for is the water and the Gatorade. So
it gets you some clubbies.
Some clubbies? What's that?
It's a seltzer that is targeted towards golfers that has electrolytes in it.
Ooh, clubbies. Okay.
Clubbies.
Might give that a run.
You can find the orange ones. They are
really. See,
fantastic.
I'm big on the sparkling waters. Flavor inspired. Polar makes a cranberry lime sparkling water in a can. I hammer down on those and pretend it's beer. So let's get to Big Ten some more. So in the Big Ten, the consensus is that Ohio State and Oregon will battle. Michigan's kind of a unknown quantity. They probably still have a lot of talent there, but no Harbaugh. Penn State is going to be top 5, but is always going to disappoint. And then into the 5, 6, and 7 slots, you get into the USC, Iowa, and Wisconsin. I honestly would have to take Wisconsin over those other two.
Iowa,
yeah, and I don't know. Maybe here's the highlight that I see on one of the.
What about Washington?
Washington rebuild. The Arizona coach went there. Jed
Fish.
Yeah. no Michael Penix Jr., so we'll see. But
Yeah.
Lost a lot of receiver talent as well.
I just remember watching Iowa last year, struggle to break the 10-point barrier every single week, and I just have a hard time putting them in the top 5 of any Power
Well, you know
4
what?
conference.
You know what Lindy's listed as the good news for Iowa?
What, they got a new OC?
Brian Ferentz is out as offensive coordinator. Oh, so anyways, but
Didn't they get
thing.
who did they pick up to play quarterback? Is the McNamara kid still there from Michigan?
No. Wait, who? At Iowa?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you asked me to dig down into this and look at me.
I learned yesterday that Tyler Shook is at Louisville.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that puts the countdown at about 52 days before a broken collarbone or some upper torso fracture.
And a medical red shirt, of course.
Don't mean to put that evil on him, but is he in year 8 now? I mean,
yes.
Wasn't he like the 2016 Pac-12 offensive MVP?
I think he's been there since he was there when Leach was there, wasn't he?
He played against Andrew Luck.
He played with Mike Bellotti up there in Oregon.
So anyways, the USC Trojans, Jeremy, are picked anywhere about 4th or 5th. The pencil neck in LI that we talk about obviously a lot had some opinion.
I think if there's a dark horse in the conference, I kind of think it's SC. Am I being a homer? It feels like they could win 8 or 9 games. They don't play Oregon. They don't play Ohio State. UCLA and Michigan are in rebuilds. Am I nuts on that?
Yeah, he's nuts on that. And
wait, we got Minnesota and Nebraska we're not worried about anymore. And
yeah.
I mean,
and here's the thing: at the bottom of the list in the 18-team Big Ten Conference, eight teams over 10.
Yeah. It's the B1G.
The B1G. Sadly for our good friend and super fan, Dan Narva, Michigan State picked 12th. New coach coming in. I don't know. But here's the thing. I'm never going to sleep on Purdue to pull off some upset in the Big Ten. Ever.
Yeah.
Now, it'll be this season that it doesn't happen, but
the ghost of Joe Tiller will will it to happen.
Joe Tiller. So Tebow, who we refer to, Lincoln Riley on this program, Muleshoe.
Can I say the acronym out loud?
Go ahead.
That bitch out west.
Oh man, that's funny. Shots fired. So Lincoln Riley talked about, his situation at USC, in which, if I follow Twitter correctly, Jeremy, and I think I generally do, they've kind of had their butt handed to them in recruiting lately. I mean, they've lost. So here's that bitch out west, Muleshoe, talking about his status at USC.
Listen, 2 years ago, look where Ohio State and Oregon were 2 years ago. Look what they took over. Look what we took over. I mean, it takes time. I'm not a magician. I can't wave a magic wand and just be perfect right away. But find one area that we have made progress. So this thing's got momentum. It's coming. Nothing's going to stop it. That's fine. They started at a different point. We'll see where it ends up.
Yeah. Jeremy calling for the hatchet sign. Go ahead.
He started with a ball club that went 7-5, with the majority of Clay Helton's players won 10 ball games. And then with the majority of his own players went 7-5. Kind of looks like they regressed to the mean, doesn't it?
And, in this day and time, I mean, if he's saying that back in 2014, I would give him a
He took over after Kiffin.
Yeah. Or
he's such a wiener.
He really is. And apparently,
listen, he said when he left here that he couldn't build the roster he wanted here. Well, guess what? Brent Venables has had no problem with roster building here. You just have to want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. He stated facilities were not up to par. Well, his first press conference in his office, it looked like he was in a stinking cubicle. I don't know if you've seen the facilities out at the University of Southern California at Los Angeles, but they back up to Compton. They're not nice. They're not nice. A few years ago, a player got shot in a drive-by at practice.
Yeah.
Not a great part of town.
No.
They play in an old, dilapidated stadium that they can't fill because no one in LA cares about football.
No.
What did he think was going to happen? Had he never watched a USC game before he went out there? Was he just in utter denial that he just torpedoed his entire career to go out there and fail?
Yeah. Well, and to play devil's advocate in this conversation, it's Big Ten Media Days. What is he going to say? I mean, he can't. Now, I'll say this. He's almost like your typical Democrat in deflecting to Oregon and Ohio State, Ryan Day and Dan Lanning.
Ryan Day, just another guy born on third base and thinks he hit a triple.
Kind of like
Bob Stoops
Lincoln was when he took his first head coaching job.
Bob Stoops was handed a roster that with an offensive line that won the Joe Moore Award his first year.
Yeah,
a quarterback that won the Heisman that he didn't recruit. All kinds of toys, Rodney Anderson, Marquise Brown, CD was on that team. Just dudes everywhere.
Yeah,
and got worse every single year. But hey, we're close. We're close. We're so close. You don't understand it. You don't know what you're looking at. But when I look at film, I see we're close. I'm sorry. There should have been quotes around that. That was him.
Who'd he bring in as defensive coordinator?
He brought the guy across town from UCLA. Yeah. Who's going to fail because they're not ever going to play complimentary football.
Yeah. DeAnton Lynn. Is that right?
Okay.
DeAnton.
Yes. He was at UCLA prior, came over. He's still got a bunch of guys that are light in the rear end on that defense, and they can't recruit.
34-year-old son of Anthony Lynn, ex-Chargers head coach. So
okay, yeah. Good defensive mind.
Sure. And here's the thing: the Fox Sports Network with the pencil neck premium, at the lead of the pack, is going to defend him as much as possible because they need West Coast viewers. Now,
sure.
Oregon
got to get them for those 9 a.m. kickoffs.
Just looking at Tebow's schedule this year, Jeremy, they travel to the Big House, and that's September 21st. That's a big L. They host Wisconsin. Wisconsin, a West Coast trip for Wisconsin in early October.
Those folks are going to travel.
They're going to travel. That's like a Rose Bowl for them, right?
That is going to be like a LA Chargers home game.
Yeah.
Where the majority of the fans there are wearing the other team's colors.
Something, yeah. And they host Penn State. I don't know where the pencil neck's thinking that Penn State's going to roll out there and get rolled by SC. And
they got
the other thing. So a quarterback comes in and passes for a ton of yards and touchdowns in a bowl game.
Who did they play in that bowl game?
Huh?
Who did they play in that bowl game?
That was good question. Dang it. I don't know.
I know Miller Moss had a really nice game.
That's what I'm
saying. That's the kid's name.
Jeremy, 6'2", 200 pounds.
Miller Moss?
Yeah. He's not Matt Stafford back there.
Well, who else is 6'2", 200 pounds? Guy named Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't bother me.
Well, I'm just saying he's a junior. He's been in the system, but one bowl game.
But that's what he's got, Chuck.
I know, but I'm just talking about all the hype that people are, and I get it. He's the quarterback whisperer, blah blah blah.
But who's behind him?
Well, according to
Malachi Nelson, the kid that was committed to Oklahoma before Tebow took the show out west, transferred to Boise State.
Yeah, this is saying Jaden Mava, 6'4", 220, and then a Mountain West Freshman of the Year at UNLV, Jake Jensen.
Oh, okay.
So a kid with some experience.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, man. Tebow his offense is just outstanding.
Sure.
He's outstanding. Now he's a tool, and he's not a good head coach. He's just not a good head coach. That is not anything. I'm not saying, just, cover this up. I'm just speaking. He's not a good head coach. I've seen it. We've seen it at 2 places now.
Yeah.
Last year was a failure. You have Caleb Williams and you only win 7 ball games. Well, it's just a failure.
And that's a generational talent at collegiate quarterback position. I mean, like you said, you nearly puked down your leg and lost to Colorado.
He's a lot like Gundy was in that early part of his career, where he had that offense that he could just plug guys into, and they just had just massive amounts of Zach Robinson, Whedon, Corn Dog, that whole group. And then they changed up the offense, brought new coordinators in, and it was never the same after that.
Yeah. Lincoln Riley did defend one part of his aspect, and that was his barbecue skills.
I need to improve my photography skills, not my barbecuing skills. So absolutely, I got to work on it a little bit this summer.
So the brisket was all the problem of.
Sounds like he just took a big bite of that brisket. He's a drink of water.
So the brisket was more of a photography issue than an actual smoking issue. Max Patton from Sayre, Oklahoma, checking in. Hi, Max. I got to golf with Max last week. He and Dakota Gloria are part of the Sayre Eagles broadcast team on Right Media, where I work, and we had they had the Sayre Sports Association scramble out there. It was just a 9-hole, Jeremy, but man, it was a nice 9-hole. And when you play 9 holes twice, that's 18, and that's pretty fun.
That is 18, and you've already played the holes once, so you kind of know where they're going.
Thank you.
If you can play from out of bounds on the right.
Very nice course at Sayre National. I was impressed, and it was a fun day, and I appreciate Max and his broadcast partner Dakota Gloria giving me the invite out there. So Jeremy, as we're wrapping up on time here, a couple of other things, and Big Ten. Here's the thing: Oregon may make some noise. I know Dylan Gabriel is.
Oregon's going to make some noise. They're going to have a really nice squad this year.
Sure. They are very good. They're going, over the next years, Phil Knight's basically, made it clear he'd love a natty before he dies. Their 2 losses last year were to Washington. It's funny to think what might have been if there was a 12-team playoff last season and Oregon gets in it. Now, I don't know. Maybe Bo Nix can't check down against some of the cream of the crop playoff teams that would have been in it. I don't know, but will they be able to handle the intermediate and check downs with Dylan Gabriel, or will everything just be bombs?
When Dylan wants to, he can throw the intermediate routes. I just don't think Levy's offense calls for a lot of that. Mm-hmm. It didn't seem like he ever saw anybody running over the middle of the field, does it?
No. Except in that drive against Texas where he seemed to find Drake Stoops a lot, or several times.
I know.
Here's the thing, Jeremy, with all of these quarterbacks, and if Miller Moss, if you're accurate enough to hit guys in stride, man, you're so far ahead of the game. That was my big thing about Nate Hibble back in the early 2000s. He could get the pass there, but he never seemed to catch dudes in stride.
No, he had a great arm, but he was a throw it at you guy.
He was. So, that's the thing. But here's my prediction. Ohio State wins the Big Ten, and, I think Ohio State makes it to the championship finals. This is the year that they don't have the marquee names like we're typically seeing, like they have in the past, but I don't know.
Hey, it's going to be Ohio State versus Ole Miss in the finals. Going to have the Lane Train is going to finally get him one. Lane Train is going to beat Hair Dye Guy.
I love it.
By 2 scores.
And I'm here for it. Hey, real quick, as we transition out of college football, Cowboys reported to camp at Oxnard, California.
Not all of them did.
No, not all of them. And
let's just make it easy, guys. I'm going to call Jerry later. Say, go and trade CD to Kansas City. They got the assets. Let's make it happen.
Oh,
I know.
speaking of Kansas City, did you see the video of the Raiders that
Yeah, I saw
Kermit
that
the
this morning. What are you
Kermit the
doing?
Frog puppet?
What are you doing? What are you want to poke that bear? You want to poke that bear? I mean, he's already won a Super Bowl in your stadium. You want to keep poking it?
They know he's getting soft, Jeremy. They know
Sure, I guess.
soft.
Two straight Super Bowls will make you that way.
He spent all summer with the Arizona
Siren children, and
him and his wife think his wife's going to start a restaurant chain and record an album. So
oh no,
he's been distracted.
that guy has such a singular focus that all this nonsense goes on around him, and he's still ripping off Super Bowls.
You have to hope. I mean, I don't know.
Well, he's just
frozen internet again. But as Jeremy was mentioning, there are some holdouts. One, C.D. Lamb, former Oklahoma receiver, also holding out on camp, wanting a new deal. I think they could be having issues with Dak Prescott, and then they also need to figure out how to keep Micah Parsons at the linebacker spot. But it's going to be a interesting situation.
There you are.
Cut is freaking frozen internet. Maybe I just not supposed to browse while we're streaming. I don't know.
What are you looking at over there, Chuck? Did you download a virus? I mean,
I'm trying to check out Yahoo Sports. Is that well? That may be punked. I don't know.
Starting to be like my mother. Oh, it said click here, and I clicked there, and now nothing works.
What was it? Michael Scott had what was the line from The Office? When the Prince of Nigeria tells you he needs help, you're not going to turn him down. Good friend of mine actually had a spouse that fell for a lot of that stuff, and they were totally infiltrated in almost every aspect of their lives.
Oh,
and
Lord.
So, maybe as a public service and as giving back, maybe I should be giving some PSAs here on the channel.
I mean, why would anybody just go on the internet and lie?
Yeah, I mean, everything on there is true. I found that out through politics. Hey,
just like the Lonely Hearts Club at the airport, guys waiting for women they've been sending money for years, and like, I don't think she's coming, buddy.
I would feel so. I mean, I kind of laugh inside when I'd have to talk to those guys, but at the end, I was like, oh, that's sad. And really, it depended on their age. If they were elderly and fell for that, I felt terrible. But man, if you were under 50 and you're showing up there thinking that Svetlana's coming to live with you, you get what you get, jerk. But anyways, another thing to touch on, basketball related. The NBA on TNT will be no more after this upcoming season. ESPN, I've heard, is going to make a run to try to keep that band together. Chuck, Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie, all the talk all along has been that Ernie doesn't want to have to leave Atlanta. But, I mean, for enough dough, would he?
Right. And how many ESPN on-air people are going to have to take a pay cut or lose their jobs, be laid off over this?
I mean, you'd have to think the mothership realizes that show would get way more viewership than having Steve A and Michael Wilbon on. Right.
Oh,
I mean, they have to kick their tail constantly. I mean,
at least everybody on Inside the NBA is likable. I just can't even halfway deal with those guys.
No. But the thing about it is apparently, Nosferatu and the NBA executives, and I guess you'd have to say ownership has some owners would have a role in it as well. Didn't take the matching offer by Warner Brothers Discovery to keep the NBA on TNT, but went with Amazon instead. Jeremy, I'm on YouTube TV. I don't want to have to flip over to my Amazon app on my smart TV to watch the NBA. I won't. I can tell you this right now. I don't watch anything. We have Prime.
Wait, are you being serious?
Anything on there now?
You can watch the NBA on Prime. You can watch football on Prime.
I don't want to have to switch apps. It's a pain in the butt.
It's really not.
No.
Look. You go to your remote. Okay. No,
I won't go to my remote.
You go to your remote and see there's a home button. You hit home.
No.
Okay. And then it'll list your apps in a line, and then you just use your arrow to arrow over to the app.
Get off my lawn.
Okay.
I hate you.
No,
No,
I get it. I mean, it is barely an inconvenience, but it is an inconvenience. Because that's the way things are now. We can't have everything on cable. I don't even have cable anymore. You don't either.
You're right there. I wonder what the
Yeah.
stocks are on Cox Communications now. I wonder how far.
I hope they're just abysmal.
I miss Cox I miss Cox Cable, honestly.
Well, I love them
many
so
off
much that
channels that I would just kind of fall into.
they told me how much I owed. I went and I opened up the app to pay it, and they had already disabled my app. Literally just hung up the phone, telling them I wanted to cancel.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we'll send you a bill. Well, that was over a month ago. Still no bill.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, fiber is a great thing, but there are still drawbacks with fiber, and then also the streaming apps. I'm not real crazy. And now YouTube TV's the multi-view thing is great.
Oh, that's the only reason I did it is for football season, so I can watch 4 games at one time.
But like we talked about it last week, I think C-SPAN. I can't watch Canadian Parliament anymore.
Well, Chuck, who cares?
Are you putting
Bunch
on
of
socks
socialists
while we're on the show? My God.
Well, yeah, I've got to go do some unpaid labor today
Okay.
at my place of employment because they're a-holes. So
well, let me ask you this real quick as we get out of here. 2 things. Exit question. Team USA, LeBron finally gets the super team he would love to have in the league. And back on the Amazon thing, you know that the NBA just went with Amazon because it's the chic thing to do right now. That's more of a popularity thing and we're preparing for the future. No, NBA on, keep things the way they are. Things work.
Guess what's on YouTube TV? TNT's on YouTube TV.
Yeah.
Who cares? They have an app. Why are we doing this?
Exactly.
Doesn't Amazon have enough money? Isn't Jeff Bezos rich enough?
No, he
doesn't he have a plastic wife and enough yachts to just and the phallic shaped spacecraft?
Oh man,
can he just chill? Give us this one. Just give us this one, Jeff. Son of a bitch.
Thank you. I wanted to go there. I just held off. No, you're exactly right. And screw that guy. I mean,
I liked it better when Amazon just sold books. They sold books and we liked it.
No kid. And you could get the occasional CD. That was a great thing. So Team USA in Paris, getting ready. LeBron gets to carry the flag in, I believe, is what I heard. Good for him,
So when are they going to lose? Is this going to be the LeBron's medal?
Did you see my retweet of Isaiah Thomas?
Yes, I did.
Good for Z.
Isaiah's exactly right.
Stand
they
up.
Act like,
hey, that dude was leader of the pack of one of the biggest group of mongrels in the day of basketball.
First off, LeBron probably would have been suspended for an entire season because he would have taken a swing at Bill Laimbeer.
Oh, sure. It'd
been like Kermit Washington.
Oh, yeah. And then, can you imagine him bumping up and wanting to talk mess with Rick Mahorn?
Rodman?
John Sally.
Did he ever have to play with Ron Artest? Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah.
He played against Meta. It was Meta World Peace by then, or the
and here's the thing, and La Flop, as a lot of people call him, he is
Sheed Wallace would have given him something to flop about.
He's a physical prowess, but at the end of the day, he's been allowed to be soft. I mean, the winning drive that he made against South Sudan, I think it was
South Sudan.
That was
Sudan.
That was an unbroken boulevard of green lights to the basket.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's not that fast. He had no resistance.
No. And you're looking at South Sudan, who didn't even have a basketball program 2 years ago.
Isn't Luol
Deng's in charge of that?
You only thought this show would not have a Luol Deng reference. Hey, Texas Tech signs the Kennedy girl from Stanford on I heard the NIL is $1.2 million that she's coming to Lubbock for. Is that a big loss for Patty Gasso?
It's a big loss.
Or is it a bigger loss for Texas and OSU softball?
I want to say yes. I mean, that's a really big loss for OU. If they could have pulled her, there you're looking at 5 in a row easily. Now they're going to have to. They may have to face her if Texas Tech can make it to Oklahoma City.
This. She pitched some amazing games for Stanford, but it wasn't like she was impervious. I mean,
OU still beat her twice year before last. So, but that OU's lineup was like the 27 Yankees.
Yeah. Let's do something real quick. So I would say Team USA wins gold at Paris. I don't. That's not the youngest roster they could be throwing out there, Jeremy.
I'm telling you, Team Canada.
There you go.
Team Canada.
Hey, how about your future job and some of the dealings and maybe it won't fall on you guys. It would fall on what I used to do. But Southwest Airlines going to assigned seating. What's the world coming to?
I don't know. I don't know. And they're adding SEC routes because they are the official airline of the Southeastern Conference.
Well, there you go. Well,
now they're going to charge more for tickets with assigned seating. So, it's a business decision.
Yeah. Did you see the post that after all the other airlines were out, they said, we stayed online because we were utilizing our Commodore 64 down in the
Yes, I did see that.
Well, let's let you get out of here, Jeremy. And actually, that's a little premature, but let's go ahead and plan on getting out of here. Jeremy, thanks so much for jumping on with me. I tell you what, in the future, and just to give people a heads up, you had mentioned that you might be able to land us a special Heisman Trophy winning guest as we get closer to college football. I'd love to pursue that.
Okay.
And also, we need to check in with John Moore as the All-Star game has passed by and the trade deadline will be fast approaching. So some Rangers updates and some baseball updates. How about the Mariners signing a Rosarina from Tampa Bay? That was a big one for them. But baseball going on, and Rangers have won 5 straight, so that's not bad. And the Mets swept the Yankees in the Subway Series. That's always a good thing. So, anyways, you ready to get out of here?
Yeah, I gotta head up to Oklahoma City.
All right, we'll get going, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy.
All right. He's Jeremy Schroeder. I'm Chuck Ramsey, the Law Dog, and here with you every week, every Friday at 9 a.m. And we could be breaking some news sometime real soon. We'll see what we can do. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Leave a message for us that we will read on the air on our website, lawdogsports.com. And you can also listen to the podcast on SoundCloud, Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. Also, the videos of the episodes are on our YouTube channel at Law Dog Sports. Be safe out there. Don't text and drive, and sure don't drink and drive. And we'll talk to you real soon.